Meant to be. So I started this video at 11:11. I need you, if you're struggling, or if you're feeling depressed, or you're feeling angry, or whatever, if you have excuse after excuse after excuse on why you're not doing something, and maybe you have all the friends in the world surrounding you, encouraging those. I used to make a joke that depending on what answer I wanted from something, it would depend on who I asked. And that is so true. Now, the problem is the people that we really only have to face is ourselves. Right? I'm facing my shadow or myself or my ego or whatever. I just started this new project, 369 it's called. I strongly and highly recommend it. It's not new information for me, but it's definitely a reboot that I was getting lost in certain stuff. Now, I don't care what excuse you want to use if you're in the same predicament, whether you don't want to exercise or you don't want to eat right or you don't want to that psychiatrist joke I was joking with my sister today. I said, yeah, I have no friends at all. Well, do you go out? No, I don't want to go out. Well, do you are you involved in any communities? No. What the hell would I want that for? Do anybody ask you to do things? Oh yeah, but they're all stupid. It's just we're our own worst enemies. And if we go out there with a judging attitude, we're always going to find something to judge, even in ourselves. So I was off tonight and I've really missed my Tai Chi. Now, I know that the job I have kind of ruffled my life a little bit, but it still feels like the right choice. It still feels like the right way. And I have evolved so much just in this since January. Again, because sometimes we get stuck, and what we have to remember, and it was funny because this book just said it right off the hop, you are not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. You need to learn nothing. You need to unlearn and remember who you are. And we go in cycles over and over. Like it quoted me right in there. I said, damn it, I keep getting stuck in these certain cycles. And I said, and I just don't know how to break it. I told Mike the other day, I said, I want to break some of these cycles. This is ridiculous. I said, why do I keep finding myself here? We all find our way because shit happens. We either get hurt or somebody lets us down, or we have all these expectations and judgments on other people on how they should treat us and how they should act and what they should do for us and how they should present themselves and should and what they're not doing and whatever judgments they are. I guarantee that every single person watching this video, there's somebody you say, oh yeah, well, they shouldn't do it like that. Or if you're bullshit. I was going to say, if you think you're perfect or you're right online or you're in alignment, bullshit. I'm not saying you can't be in a great place, but you'll always seem to find those little noises in your head. And it goes back to the old teachings that said, you are what you focus on. So whether it's going through menopause or pre-menopause, or you're getting headaches all the time, or you need drugs to go to bed, or you need drugs to get through life, or you need substances, Advil, Tylenol, painkillers. I'm not saying any of it is wrong, because all of it takes its space, and I think we all need to work together. I think healthcare and natural remedies, I think there's a place for every one of us. And I was telling my sister, I said, I just want to be remembered for something specific. And sometimes in that sense, if you feel somebody's copying you, or you feel like you're not important, or you're not worthy, or you're not abundant, it's because you're standing in your own way, because we are perfect exactly the way we are. And there's nothing wrong with us. And we need to be angry, and we need to be happy, and we need to make our noise, and we need to just present as we are. And yes, sometimes people don't like it. And sometimes we have bullies. And sometimes those bullies put us on a better path because we learn how to step up for ourselves. We learn how to say, whoa, 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 I am not going to be that, nor am I going to let you treat me like that. Sometimes that's the push out the door that you frickin' need to step into who you really are. In 1996, I said, there's got to be better than this. Actually, 1997, March 1997, I said, life has to be better than this. This can't be life. And I went in search of me and who I was. And now I've been in Regina since 2006, and I've fallen back into some old behaviors. Now, whether they're my behaviors, whether they're real, whether they're not real, it doesn't matter. You show up in spite of that. You show up in spite of somebody being an asshole. You show up in spite of the bully pushing you out the door that you feel you just don't want to face anymore because you're freaking exhausted. Tonight, I was off, and I actually, for the last 3 days, I don't know how I got there, because I know these people aren't like that, but in my mind, all of a sudden, I thought I wasn't worthy. These guys don't like me. They've forgotten about me already. I didn't make a difference in their life, or whatever. Just I don't know. They probably won't miss me if I don't go, or I'm just going to stay here. But I was actually off, and I was so excited. I was actually going to go in and surprise them and just show up to Tai Chi, because I'm off for 2 weeks here, so I'm off the 2 Wednesdays. And I miss my little family. That's my Tai Chi family. And then a part of me said, oh, well, maybe I was only in it so that I could get my sister in it. And then I'd be jealous. And I told her, I said, I'm jealous that you get to keep it. And it pisses me off. But and she pushed hard today. And I said, I've created a fucking monster. She's pushing my ass. And damn right she pushed my ass. And I was so happy that she did, because sometimes I also need somebody to push hard to say, I love you, now fucking smarten up, because I've done it to so many people. And I told her, I said, sometimes the older sister needs that little sister to say, hey, what the fuck's wrong with you? Come on, let's go. You want to be there. And it was funny because either she was in my head or I was in my head. And I was like, I don't know. I said, I kind of really want to go. And I was stuffing my face with steak. And I was like, yeah, but maybe Eric doesn't really want me to go. And maybe, just stupid shit in my head, right? Because there's been situations where I go and somebody doesn't want me there, but that's not this group. That's not what I created in my life. That is not this group. So I was taking old issues, putting it on them. And April said, I even had, I already asked Eric, so don't you tell me he doesn't want you to be there. Because he said absolutely anytime she wants to come, she is welcome. And that alone just made my heart sing. And then I remembered how happy I was there. And tonight they were doing little things and the idiosyncrasies and just little things about all the people. And I just smiled the whole time. I was like, I love this. And then I was like, 730 days, 700. And I don't hate my job. It's just really standing in my way right now to some things that I love and adore. But April says, she goes, yeah, but you get to go today. Switch your perception. Because I said, what if I go and I'm just going to be so sad that I never get to come again? That is just so sad. And you know what? That's how we live our lives sometimes. Sometimes we get out there and we say, oh yeah, but then I'm going to have to let it go. And that's going to suck. Then don't focus on that. And I was so proud of my little sis when she says, switch your perception. You get to go today. You come and have fun. And you just get excited on the days that you can come. Who gives a shit if you can't come for 700 days, but you get to come for 4, And I took holidays, so I was like, well, I'm on staycation, so I'm here, and I could come for these 2. Is that all right? And the teacher, Sifu's like, absolutely, no problem. You just come when you can. And I was feeling bad because I wasn't going to my he wants me to call brother, but he's still Sifu. He's still a teacher. And I wasn't doing the Tai Chi on Tuesdays because it's 2 out of 6. And I was kind of feeling sad about that. And I was like, I kind of want something every week. And I was like, yeah, but why don't you just go when you can? So I've got CDs here because I have been trying to, keep up with it. And I didn't forget stuff. And I saw out of the corner of my eye one of my co-partner students, whatever you call them. He was smiling because I was still practicing certain parts. And I could tell he was still proud of me that I was still, still picking up the good fight. And I changed so much in these last couple of years, and Tai Chi's I fucking love it. Tai Chi and yoga, I love it. I don't do yoga enough, and whatever. I do what I do when I need to do what I need to do. And even this book said something like that. And I started laughing. I said, Mike, look, this is something I would say. And I read it to him. He goes, yeah. And it's funny because I got into the book thinking, oh, I could teach all this. I was like, no, focus on you just for one moment, just for one, read this book for you. There's about 6 books and they just help get you centered back on yourself. So if you're feeling a little lonely or you're feeling broke or you're feeling, because it's got abundance, it's got soul purpose, there's 6 different things. And then they got like daily prayers every day. And you know what? It does not hurt you to sit back and say, hey, what am I grateful for? What am I grateful for? What are the good things that are going on in my life? And yeah, sometimes we get carried away and we buy a bunch of shit that we don't need. I got a couple emails from them. They said, stop needing things. And it was like, if you're always searching outside of yourself, there's anxiety, there's fear, there's anger, there's depression. And I went today and I told my sis, you pushed my ass. She goes, I was told I need to push you today. And I said, I did need the push. And I was like, so are you going to pick me up? And she did pick me up. And then it was nice because all these thoughts in my head, none of them were true, you guys. None of them. And we can't focus on the bad stuff. We got to just do shit. We can't let all the noises inside our head, whether they're whatever, we can't let those noises override how beautiful people actually really are out there. Because sometimes the people that hate you, that you think hate you, actually don't hate you. And it's only you that hates you because you're so I like my bullies because they push me into getting better, searching for better, demanding better. And no, you can't fight them because they're treating you with their mirror, but you're also receiving it in yours. In other words, if you can't change the situation, then you change the situation. If you can't change the people you're around, then change the people that you're around. Okay? You get it? What I mean is I work in healthcare. So there's a lot of different choices that I could have. And I didn't want to leave home care because I like home care. And I've took my whole career got me back to home care. And I like it because I'm independent. I'm a strong person. I'm a strong nurse. And there's so many different people that couldn't handle some of the stuff that I'm doing. And you know what? There's so many different things that I just choose never to, not even try to handle. But we all have our special gifts, right? And there's nothing wrong with any of them. There's nothing wrong with being a nurse until this time and then doing Reiki at this time and then doing sound here. I love change. Because I find if I'm too routine, I go into noises and anxiety and I forget how many beautiful things that I've seen. Even my dog pictures. And I was like, Mike, we saw a picture of one of my pups that passed away in 2016, I think. I said 2017. Anyways, when Keisha passed away. And that was my worst. That was my worst death. That one hit so deep. It was deep. It was deep. And I'm not saying the other ones didn't hurt. I'm just saying that one, me and Keisha, we were peeps. And I look back and I pictured it and I'm like, ugh. I said, her eyes look so tired, and I didn't see it. I didn't see it then. I didn't want to see it then. I remember stressing out, and I looked at Abby. I said, are you that tired yet? Because she's been limping off and on. And then sometimes I don't know if she's limping or if she's just overdoing it and when I should do drugs. And that caregiver syndrome is real. And it happens with your parents or your family or your kids or your dogs. Caregiver syndrome. I'm maybe saying it wrong today. I've said so many things backwards. It wasn't even funny. And Mike looks at me and goes, are you having a stroke? I said, no, my face is fine. Be like, And I said, but it was funny because I was switching words in sentences and I'd say, yeah, you need to take the salt to the fridge, or I don't know. I can't accidentally do it, or I can't force myself to do it. But when I'm talking, sometimes my words completely switch, or I'll switch just the 2 letters in front of certain words, and it's mind-boggling. And Mike's like, I'm not doing, and I said, I heard what I said, just let it go. And he's like, I heard what you said, and oh my God. So it's just sometimes, my point is sometimes the noises in your head are really only the noises in your head, and nobody else feels like that. Because as soon as I got to Tai Chi, I was so warmly welcomed, and they all gave me a hug. And my sister said, "Did he just say he was going to kiss you, but that's inappropriate?" I said, "No." I said, "He said he was going to give me a fist pump, but a hug will do." So it was super funny, actually. But it was so nice to remember them and to be there. And even the mosquitoes were biting and I didn't care. And we played the staff today and that was fucking great. So, you know what? 2 years isn't that long. So I guess I just do the best that I can. I try to get in there as much as I can. And it was funny, they were willing to move another day for Monday, and then there was the Monday I was working. Like, this roster really kind of sucks that way. And who knows, you know, maybe if I'm supposed to stay nursing, and maybe there'll be a roster change, and maybe the shifts will switch again, because it's not the first time they've changed rosters. You know, anything's possible. You just kind of got to go through the punches and hit the ball when it comes to you, and just get ready for those pitches, you know? Everything happens for a reason. So don't give up. You are worthy. You are beautiful. And I just wanted you to know that you are not alone. You've done nothing wrong. And you just have to remember who you truly are before the world told you what you are not. We're all here for a reason. And whatever that fucking reason is, and I don't know if we're here 17 times or one time. We're not supposed to know that. And I remember the one card that I pulled when I want to know what the hell's going on. And the card said, it's called the Great Mystery. If you knew all the answers, it wouldn't be called the Great Mystery. I'm like, so my guides have an awesome sense of humor, but that's my guides. That's my team. And I know we're not alone. We are not alone. Even though sometimes we can really beat the shit out of ourselves, convincing ourselves that we are alone. And sometimes I think it just gets stuck on our heads so much that we can't see what's right in front of us. So show up just because, and show up in spite of whatever the fuck is going on, because you are making more magic than you will ever understand, you will ever know. And if I've ever hurt you, it was never intentional, or maybe you needed a kick in the ass. Same goes for me. You know, those who have hurt me, I know it was for the greater good of myself. And it's not personal. People need to do what they need to do when they need to do it. And I like when people ask, so what do you do? And I say, I do what I need to do when I need to do it. For whom I need to do it for. That song from church, I remember. Yahweh, here I am. Or here I am, Lord. Is it I, Lord? And I always say, here I am. What do you need? Right? And it keeps me in check, you know? So focus on the good things, because you're beautiful.